we brought Mars to life, crafted entirely with Gaea and Unreal Engine. Hi everyone. In this part of the tutorial, we'll focus mainly on Gaea. We'll start by creating a mountain and blending it with our terrain. Then, we'll build another type of mountain based on our reference. And using various nodes, we'll try to give it a natural, eroded look. We'll also be using the draw mode in this tutorial to speed up the workflow. Later, we'll go over how to export the project and fix common issues that might appear during the process. Finally, we'll take a quick look at how to import the maps into Unreal Engine and create a scene like this one. To start, we add a mountain range node to create some scattered elevations on the terrain, giving it a more natural look instead of a flat, raw surface. Next, we add a mountain to the scene and use the transform node to scale it down and adjust its shape to match our reference. However, we're getting some unwanted bumps along the edges, which can cause issues later. So, let's use a 3D transform to move the terrain slightly downward. Although this might create some problems during export, don't worry. We'll come back to this step later to fix it. Next, we add an adjust node to increase the height of our mountain. Now we want to combine the mountain with the mountain range node. We set the mode to blend, and then by tweaking the position and scale of the mountain, we make it look closer to our reference. To make our mountain more elongated, we duplicate it and combine it with the original one. Then, to make it blend more naturally with the terrain, we add an erosion node. Now, let's move on to the second type of mountain shown in the reference. We add a soft clip node and adjust its values to flatten the top surface of the mountain. Now we add a curve node and create a point near the start, slightly higher, to give the mountain a sharper edge at the base. Then, to smooth out the top surface, we add another point in the middle and pull it downward. Now that we've built the base of our terrain, it's time to add some details. First, we use the contours node to create a layered mask across the surface. By adjusting its settings, we shape it the way we want, and then use a blur node to soften the result. Now we combine the curve node with the contours node and set the mode to subtract, so it carves out details from the main mountain. Next, we add two nodes, rock noise and rock shape, to add more surface detail and natural variation to our terrain. However, to prevent these details from affecting the entire scene, we create a height mask from our base and combine it with the detail nodes to achieve the desired result. Now, to add some rocks around our mountain, we use the debris node and adjust its settings to get the desired amount of scattered stones. For the final detail, we add a cracks node to break up the surface and make it look more natural and less uniform. Finally, we combine all the nodes together and use a transform node to move the entire structure to the desired position based on the reference. Next, for the distant mountains, we use the draw node. We open the painter window, and by painting around the terrain, or using Shift plus click, we can erase areas just like we practiced in the earlier lessons. Now we can easily add more detail to our work using the Wizard 2 node. Then we combine this node with the main node, and this gives us our final result. Now, to add some surface bumps and elevations across the entire terrain, similar to the reference, we add a screen node to the whole project. Now we're ready to export our work. First, we create a height mask from the mountain range. And by adjusting its values, we try to capture only the ground surface. To do this properly, we combine it with the final result and set the mode to subtract. We also generate another height mask from the final node for this process. We mark the result of this combination for export and name it ground. We also export the mountain height and rename it mountain. Don't forget to set the export format to PNG 16-bit. Additionally, since we'll be assigning materials to the screen node's elevations, we also create a mask from it. Now we also need to export the entire project as a whole and name it total. We open Unreal Engine, create an empty landscape, import our total mask in landscape mode, and click Import. Then, we reduce the fog intensity so we can see the scene more clearly. As you can see, the center mountain is missing, and the reason for that is the 3D transform node we applied earlier. Let's test it by exporting just the mountain. As you can see, it exports correctly. However, the issue comes from using the 3D transform node. So it's better to use a regular transform node instead. Then, we can fix the edge problems using the Clip Adjust feature. Now that we've made some changes, we need to delete all the previous masks and re-export everything from the beginning. For testing, we'll export from the wizard node, and as you can see, it works perfectly. Now we can safely export our final results. As you'll see later, we'll also make some position adjustments to get closer to the reference. To keep the video from getting too long, we'll show this part in fast forward. In Unreal Engine, we start by creating a camera and finding a suitable position for it in the scene. Now, to create the landscape material, we need to use our masks. So we'll export them first. I'm using these few materials from Quixel, but you can use any materials you like. In this tutorial, I won't spend too much time on material creation. So if you want to learn more advanced material techniques, you can check out the previous tutorials. We create a landscape material with 3 inputs for our masks and assign it to the landscape. Then, in landscape mode, just like in the previous lessons, we match each mask with its corresponding material layer. As I mentioned earlier, I don't want to focus on material creation in this tutorial, so I'll show this part in fast forward. Finally, we increase the fog intensity a bit, and by holding Ctrl+L, we rotate the light to get better lighting in the scene. Now we can add the HDRI backdrop plugin, but don't forget to save your project first. Then, we import an HDRI from Polyhaven to light the scene. Now we add the HDRI backdrop, then increase its size and adjust its position. Finally, we assign our HDRI to it. Finally, we add 2 local fogs to the scene to make the overall atmosphere look richer and more immersive. Thanks for watching. Smash that like button, subscribe, and get ready. Part 2 with PCG and asset placement is on the way.